Hey traders, this is the recap for Thursday, and I'm going to walk through the positions that we took, the positions that we have in the Sector Secrets Mastery. We'll make this a quick one. Not a lot going on, but I really wanted to talk about a loss that we took. If you watched the previous recap, great day, but what happens when things go beyond the risk parameters set for the trade? We've got to have the discipline to be able to cut it, and that's exactly what we'll talk about in this video. So at just before 10 o'clock, the setup for gold 17 April 305 or 304. Now let me talk about strike selection for a moment. You'll notice that the chart on the screen is GC. If I'm trading GLD, SPY, QQQ, anything that has an active futures trading market, right? In this case GC, I'll use that chart for the setup, but then at that point I can do what I call choose your own adventure. For some of the traders in the mastery, they'll trade GC futures. Some will trade MGC. Some might trade options on the futures, and others will choose to trade GLD. It's the same trade. Why look at the GC? It's trading 23 hours a day as opposed to gold, which at 9:59 in the morning had just really been actively trading for 29 minutes. So I'll look at a more complete view of gold, and that's what brings us to GC for the GLD. Now this is a pretty easy walkthrough, and I'm going to give you some numbers behind how I manage risk. We wanted to buy gold, and this is a look back at what gold has already done, because the price movement ranges at the time showed it made a lot of sense to be buying gold once it sunk down. You can see to 33.25, 33.26. That's where the hourly price movement range was at that time. At 10, well, really at about 10 o'clock, right around the time that I was triggering the trade, I needed weakness, but I got a whole lot more than I anticipated. The volatility increased. So immediately you'll see we have a 15% stop loss. So on the way down, a couple things I did and didn't like. So you might say, Rog, what does that mean? It kind of sounds subjective. There's a set of criteria all of us have for whatever trade we take. And the fewer of those criteria that are met, as long as I'm not trading in an invalidated setup, in other words, buying in a downtrend or shorting in an uptrend, that kind of thing, as long as that's not invalid, I will just simply tighten the stop, in this case, 15%. So I'm risking 15 cents on the dollar. In this case, I traded, I'm going to show you this little calculator that we use. The two levels that I bought, I'm taking a look, were 163, and I bought the 304s and I bought the 303s in this example. So immediately, if that particular position loses 15% or loses, in this case, 24 cents, I might give it a wiggle of about a nickel, but I'm out. That's it. Now, the reason I give it a little bit of a wiggle, it's not to invalidate the stop, but rather just to be able to, what I call, take a breath. Don't panic. Very few times am I going to be happy that I acted quickly versus just take a breath and act a little bit slowly. And in a world of hotkeys and faster execution and speed, I find that actually taking a breath and slowing things down a little bit really serves us as traders. For the other entry, this was the 305, 97 cents. That's a little cheaper than I like to buy an option. I don't like to buy options really under $1 to 95 cents. This was right in that edge. So I bought that. The risk on that was roughly 15 cents per contract. When that is met, I've lost either about 25 cents or 15 cents per contract. I cut the trade. So basically, the trade worked out like this. I got in this case, I think I let it lose 26 cents, and I was out at 137. That's what a loss should look like. It should be quick. Either the trade works, usually immediately, and responds to the level, or at least holds, right? That would be a response as well, or I get out. So the second one was, I think I took 17 cents on that one, and that was the end. Notice I did not risk all $163 of each option. Notice I did not risk all 97. Notice something else I didn't do. I didn't add on the way down. Adding is a sure sign that risk management A isn't being used or B isn't being respected. Now, it's really important, especially when in the Sector Secrets Mastery, what we like to do is focus on day trading, swing trading, and position trading. So when I have a morning that isn't doing what I need it to do, the response isn't there, I'll cut it. It's over and I'll move to my next style. And I usually do that about after an hour after the bell. So 9:30 to 10:30, I'm looking at my day trading setups. There's my quick loss, no adding, no flailing, no increasing risk to the account. And that allows me to focus on the open trades that I have. And the open trades we have right now are in GLD, and we entered a trade in Walmart. So I'll give you what I sent out to our members. Let's see here, recap. So this is the Thursday, April 17 recap. So we send this out as an alert so everyone knows, okay, this is what we've got. This is where we've scaled out. Notice we have a saying in the room, every entry, every exit, every day. So no one's ever confused about, are we in, are we out? What do we buy? Do we scale out? So every day we have this running sort of tally. So gold we entered at 485. We already scaled out at 530. We scaled out this week at 1270. I have one more contract left for this April 25 expiration. Walmart was a trade we entered this week. We bought the 16 May 90 calls. We bought them for $4.60 and $4.40. Now, here's another really important thing. Don't average those. This is not an average cost of $4.50. This is one entry from $4.60 with its own stop loss. This is one entry from $4.40 with its own stop loss. So we don't average things down. We don't say, oh, we're losing, but let's reduce our cost basis. Not at all. All the entry triggers are known at the time of the trade. So let me show you what that looks like. This is the exact alert we sent out to members. Now notice there's a few things to note here. First of all, we know what we're going to be doing, right? And where. Now when I send this out, Walmart is not trading at 91.60 or 90.95 for that matter. When we send these out, these are setup alerts. I'm letting everyone know what I'd like to do at the time that I know I want to do something and at the price. These are never market orders. These are really ideally figure out where I want to build the position, all the levels. We're not adding later on. So I've taken a look at my charts. I know where those support levels are valid for today, and I send that out. Everyone now can choose whether or not they want to get in at a moderate and conservative level, maybe just a moderate, maybe just a conservative. But here's the important part. You can now budget accordingly so you're not adding to a loser and putting disproportionate amounts of risk to the account. My risk to the account varies between 3 to 5% and does not exceed 5%. Anything more than that really is reckless risk to anyone's account. Then we also have the scale out. So not only do we know when we want to get in, we know when we want to get out when the trade moves in our favor. In the case of Walmart, you can see here, we bought at 460 and 440, scaled out the first target at 610. That's when Walmart reached that T1 scale out at 93.80. So again, none of these levels, right, are active at the time of the alert. These are all things we're waiting to see happen. So it's actually a setup alert. And that's where we are as we wrap up the week. We've got our winner in gold. We still have time. We've got our winner in Walmart, and we still have time. And then this week, I'll also give you a little insight into really a third style that I use, and that is position trading. This is Walmart, and what I'm looking at here is the weekly time frame, right? But what I'm going to do is show you, I want to show you Walmart because we already have a position long in Walmart actually from in our position portfolio. Our newest trigger is AbbVie. We bought AbbVie this week based again on that same process of this is what we want to buy, and now we're waiting for that specific price to get there, and that was 170.20. So we're long AbbVie, in this case, either shares or leaps. So the idea behind a position trade is to be in it ideally a minimum of 6 months, if not preferably years. So when our traders do buy shares, well, they're theirs now. They can hang on to this for as much as they want, enjoy the dividends, etc. And remember, AbbVie is an S&P 500 aristocrat. The other thing we want to do is just for some traders, buying multiple shares of AbbVie, $170 stock, is not necessarily in the budget. So those traders will buy leaps typically with a year to expiration and take advantage of this setup. That's what we did this week. And I'm happy we got to walk through a little bit of a loss. You can see what we did the day before. Yeah, do we learn anything when we're winning? Probably not, right? So my thing is, when a trader loses, go through the math, go through the process, go through the why, keep those losses small so that the winning trades can do their job, which is grow the account.